All right, everybody. Today is the 18th, Thursday. We got the stream live for you here. Patreon, Discord, YouTube, you know the deal. Post your comments and questions all over the place. We're going to capture all of them and address them before the end of the session right here. But before we begin, I'm looking at BTC right now. Bitcoin, 89 to 40-ish trading right now. If you can see the picture fine, hear me fine, just give me a little bit of a feedback and we're going to begin right away. Okay, appreciate that, folks. Again, if you have any trouble watching the stream, just let me know. But right now, it looks like we're good. Let's begin here. We got to be really careful with today's session because the CPI that we got is missing a lot of items, missing a lot of readings. So it appears that we have a data collection problem that took place because of the government shutdown. So it could be a false reading and the market is just jumping the gun. Could that be reversed in today's session? We have to look at the options market because the algorithms pushed the market higher in the morning, reacting based on the headline. And now we have certain mechanics that got triggered. So if you look at the SPY right here, we look at the options chain for today. You got the 18th, and we have the biggest number right here. So you see huge numbers that were added yesterday overnight for the calls in the SPY. And not much on the puts. There was actually closure. So when you have the algorithms in the morning pushing the SPY closer to these big numbers that were added yesterday, immediately we've seen a pump taking the SPY higher. But it looks that we top at 680. That's the highest volume. That's the highest open interest. That's the highest OI change. And it appears to me here in the SPY, if we look at it again, 680 should be the ceiling for today, and if the market maker wants to exercise some maximum pain, they would drop the tape down to 678. So that would be right around here. Now, if they drop the tape down to 678, there's not a lot of consequence here in the puts. We have some volume here, but not a lot of open interest at all. So it's open field for the market maker if they want to pull back the tape today after satisfying whatever risky number they see here. For now, I see it at 680. It's also important to look at tomorrow's expiration because that's the big monthly expiration, the last one for the year. And right now, I see that we have a lot of open interest in the calls here. Massive, massive numbers. So I highly doubt that the market maker wants to be sucked into these big numbers and satisfy them. So what's going to happen here is the easier path for the market maker. They can satisfy one of these big numbers in the puts that you have right here, 39,000 in the 680. But I think that they're going to have to push the tape a little bit to the downside to avoid being sucked into the gamma that you see right here in the calls. So my expectations here, folks, that we're getting closer to the ceiling of the day. We're probably going to begin to pull back in a few minutes here. I'm going to bring it back to the 18th, and let's look at gamma exposure just to make sure that everything that we talked about is correct. And I'm going to look at the expiration date all the way to the 19th. We don't need any of that. Thank you so much. And okay, we're above the gamma flip. We're satisfied the highest gamma, which is 680. Now we can try to go back and exercise some maximum pain and make sure that that gamma exposure is going to go worthless. Sweet spot for the market maker to close all the way till tomorrow's session is between 670 and 680. And I think that's what they're going to try to do here. It's going to be hard to believe that the market maker is going to be sucked into the feedback that you see in tomorrow's expiration, where we see huge open interest in 680 calls and above. I think they're going to try to neutralize that by pushing the tape down. And that's going to go the same way for the Qs. So whatever the SPY does, the Qs is going to follow. They're pretty much the same ETF at the end of the day. You have NVIDIA, 175. That's going to be a really important number too. If we continue to maintain trading below, then nothing changed today at all. If we close above, okay, then we could talk about things changing. But right now, too early to say that we're going to close above or not. Apple was on the weaker side, kind of wobbly here. Let's see if it did a retest to the 50. Yeah, it did. So it did to the 50, and now it's done. So I think that Apple holds a lot better than the rest of the market. Bitcoin is really important that it holds, but we know that we have selling at 90,000. So let's see if the sellers begin to show up again. Nvidia loses 175. SPY is probably going to settle down a lot lower. Now you have Micron to the upside, but it looks like Micron here was with a triple top showing up, and it's going to begin to head down. Let's give it a little bit of time here, but I think that Micron is going to trim a lot of the gains that it made. It was up as much as 15% in the morning, so I think we're going to trim a little bit more of these gains in Micron. As far as the VIX, not seeing a lot of movement here in the VIX, so it's not really a volatility thing. It's going to be mostly a maximum pain thing, and the market maker trying to pick that number and avoid being sucked into the cold feedback. The IWM holds a little better because the IWM has its confirmation from the 2-year. Again, you have to understand the CPI is not looking as a complete report. So you have to look at it with a skeptical eye. But right now it did the job in pushing the 2-year down, so you have confirmation in the IWM. Now, if you look at the 30-year, you have another confirmation here for some of the value names. So if you look at the map, if you want to chase some stuff, a lot of folks feel FOMO when you have reactions like we have today. You probably want to stick toward the bond market. When you have the IWM has confirmation, you have certain names like utilities and the dividend-paying names that have confirmations. But like I said, that's on you. You make that assessment because to me, I'm not trusting the reaction from the CPI, given the fact that it's missing a lot of elements that are supposed to give us a better reading on what inflation actually looks like. The dollar moving up a little bit here, so I think the dollar wants to crack above 98,650 and trade a little bit higher. And if that is the case, then gold is holding pretty good, but you're going to see that silver is pulling back a little bit. So anything that went parabolic is pulling back a little bit. But the dollar right now is not bothering metals much. I mean, you see palladium popping higher, but palladium, I would say, it's a little bit toppy right now. So if you want to sell some covered calls on it, 155, let's see what can we get for it here. Palladium, if we sell the 155, let's do the calls. Look, if we can get 150 for the 155, I'll do that with my eyes closed because that's going to be pretty much in the bag. So if you want to raise some money from covered calls here, I would do that because it looks to me that the dollar wants to head a little bit higher. Okay, we go back to the SPY. So now you guys know how the dynamic of the day is playing out. We talked about the options market. We talked about Bitcoin. We talked about the CPI. Let's look at the movers really quickly here and see if we have a theme. And if we look at the movers to the downside, now ServiceNow has its own problems. Neutron pulling back a little bit, but Neutron looking pretty good in the long run if you look at the weekly chart. So I would say if you get pullbacks, opportunities to buy in the name. Not a lot of weakness though in the market, as you can see here. Some of the names going down like Lennar. That's still a result of earnings, but not seeing a lot of declines here. Most of the tape is going to the upside, so the breadth is pretty good. And Micron going higher kind of lifted that AI trade that we talked about yesterday. But you look at it from another perspective, it would be if you haven't shorted, you use the pops as an opportunity to short or to add to your shorts in these names because they're not going to hold. Now, we have some names that are getting legitimate catalysts like Lululemon. So we bought it right around here, 178, and doing pretty good with Elliott now buying shares of Lulu. So Lulu, I would trust the reaction, although it's a little bit too excessive. So again, if you want to sell some covered calls, let's do, since we have Thursday and we have Friday tomorrow, we might use the advantage here and raise maybe from the 225. Right, 225, we can get a buck for it. I'll do that and raise some cash. So I trust the pop in Lulu, but I think we're going to pull back a little bit more before we hit higher again. Because you look at the weekly chart, it is beginning to get out of this negative pattern that we're seeing. And I think Elliott getting in. You got to remember, Elliott got into the dollar stores earlier in the year, and then they rallied significantly higher. So I think that they're on here, that Lulu's going to rally higher. But besides that, I mean, there are big pops right here, 5, 4%, but I don't trust a lot of them, especially the ones that are moving higher based on the CPI and the reaction by Micron. Those I would not trust. I think it's going to be temporary pops, and then they're going to come back down again. So anyhow, folks, let's go back to the SPY here and take your comments and your questions, see what you guys have. So you see the SPY kind of topping here at 680. Again, I think the market maker is going to add a lot of pressure trying to push it down and avoid trading above 680 today. But let's see what you guys got. Good morning, everybody. 666, is it next week or is it out of the cards right now? Be careful, because remember what we talked about, the emotional trading, just reacting based on what the algorithms do, and then the next day you realize that you overreacted. As the CPI right now is not a solid report, and a lot of folks are going to throw a lot of doubt on it. So you could see a reaction as the day progresses, and next thing you know, the SPY trading back at 675, and we trade 666 later on. So I would not dismiss it right now, but I would look at the numbers that I gave you. NVIDIA 175, Bitcoin 90,000, then you look at E-mini futures, look at the 50 days moving average right here. You need to have closures above all of these numbers to have a confirmation to say, okay, we found the chop down is over. Now we're going to chop back up and just consolidate all the way to the end of the year. But you got to see how this tape is going to develop, because that CPI is on shaky grounds. It's not a solid report. Okay, yeah, Shock, you're saying this is bullshit, pumping 8 points for Micron. Micron is just soothing a little bit of concerns right now in the AI, so you're seeing relief rebounds. But I would say, once again, use it as an opportunity to add to your shorts or to short some of the names that you're interested in but haven't shorted yet. You're getting a little bit of a relief on the Bitcoin. As far as the Fed policy, I don't think that there's nothing changed really. So the market's kind of overreacting, I think, to the news that we got today. And I would not be surprised that we see the market a lot lower by the close. So don't jump the gun here and do emotional reactions that you're going to regret later on. Hisham, you say, let's go up so it goes down more. I mean, you're correcting some of the oversold conditions, short-term oversold conditions. If you look at the RSI, for example, here, it was a little bit oversold. So when you have an oversold reading like this, the market is going to use any excuse it can get away with to just get rid of these oversold conditions. But at the end of the day, like I said, there's digestion that has to happen about the CPI data. And again, Micron, if anything, Micron getting more orders, it's actually proving that we have more competition for NVIDIA. So it's bearish for NVIDIA. It's not bullish for NVIDIA. And the other thing that you have to bear in mind is the fact that we have maximum pain for tomorrow, and the market maker not going to allow the tape to go above 680, because we have a lot of open interest that accumulated in the last few weeks in the 680 and above strikes. So I think they want to keep the tape well below 680 by the close to avoid getting sucked in. So I do agree with you here that we have to be a little bit more patient before we make conclusions. Now, if you think the BOJ hike is already priced in making tomorrow nothing burger to the upside, tomorrow you have three things, right? You have, Epstein, I don't know when that's going to be released, maybe after the market is over, so it might not be a catalyst for the day. But you have the BOJ that's coming out, so the BOJ will get the decision before the open. And then you have, most importantly, the OPEX. And OPEX, as I showed you, it is in the interest of the market maker not to trade at 680 or above. It's going to be between 670, 680. That would be an ideal close for the market maker, at least right now, looking at the data that we have right now. Okay, good morning, Mav. Now, if the Bank of Japan, for example, hike rates and says we're in the trajectory of hiking rates even more, then that's going to be a problem, because it's going to impact the dollar. And it's going to push the Japanese yen higher. It's going to push the long end of the yield curve here higher, and you're going to see a reaction in the stock market. Good morning, Mav. Could you look at NVIDIA open interest and the gamma exposure? So if you look at NVIDIA, that's important to look at, because NVIDIA alone can really move things. If you look at the 19th, you have open interest here. The highest number is 175, and the rest of them are above 175. So again, the market maker already kind of exercised maximum pain in the calls. They really don't want to get sucked in this all of this big feedback right here. If they drop the tape to the downside below 175, I mean, there's not a lot of consequence in the puts. There's one big number right here, which is 49,000 contracts. They can live with that. So I think that NVIDIA is going to be sticky at around 175. I think it will probably drop and trade in or around 175 by the close, maybe a little bit lower. And that's going to be the ideal close for the market maker. So 2 cents, I think that NVIDIA is probably heading down, closing below 175, and there's no recovery right here. There's more downside to come. Okay, dear Mav, what is your advice for the rest of the year? Should we add to our shorts, add to our longs, or do nothing and just enjoy life? I would say I would lean toward do nothing and enjoy life, because you're not going to find a lot of volume to help you out in making a move. But I would say it's a good time to have a strategy of how you're going to begin the year. Right? That's what I'm thinking about right now a lot. And I'm leaning toward, because I talk to a lot of money managers, and a lot of them want to book profits, but they want to wait till the new tax year. So comes the new year, you're going to see a wave of selling, especially in the winters. So I'm thinking about reducing my long portfolio as we enter the new year. Some of the winners have to go, and I'm probably going to add to some shorts in 2026. But right now, you probably don't want to add too many positions because you're not going to have a proper feedback yet. So I would say don't adventure too much. Maybe trade a little bit here and there. If you have a certain short that you're in, and the price right now maybe rebound to a point where you want to add, I would say that's okay, but don't do too many moves. Hey, Mav, kind of want to start to build a position in MOS, core position, yay or nay? I have MOS, but I'm frustrated. I'm frustrated by the price action, so I'm giving it the benefit of the doubt because it popped higher, came back down, retesting, so it is trying to bottom here in a saucer bottoming formation. I'll give it the benefit of the doubt, but if it breaks below the lows one more time, I'm done with it. I'm going to take the loss, and I'm going to switch to NTR because I think that Nutrien has a better pattern in the weekly chart, and it's trading above its moving averages. So I think that Nutrien is probably a better hold than Mosaic. But for now, let's give Mosaic the benefit of the doubt. So when I say I'm going to give Mosaic the benefit of the doubt, am I advising somebody to enter a new position in it? No, of course not. If I have the choice, I would enter Nutrien, not Mosaic, as a new position. SPY stalling a little bit here. Okay, let's do, can we see a bounce in NVO? A lot of support around 47. Thanks again. Okay, NVO. A lot of you want to buy NVO, but it's a value trap. But when a bubble pops, see, I've been highlighting that we have a problem here. You're right that we have a lot of support. You can see the support right here, and once again showing up right here. So am I saying that we're not going to rebound? No, we could rebound and trade a little bit higher, but when you have a pop of a bubble, I mean, this is a chart that looks exactly like the .com. I'll show you in a minute. You have the bubble, the crash, and then it just consolidates like this before it finds the footing again. So this is not a good buy at all. I mean, you can see it right here in the NDX. If we go back to the .com days, you'll find a similar pattern, right? So folks who thought that this is going to be a good support, at the end of the day, it wasn't. At the end of the day, we went down. From that point on, we went down another 50% or so from the exact rebound. It went down by yet another 40%. So NVO, to me, it's a value trap. I would even say that you buy Eli Lilly. If you have an itch to chase this weight loss theme, I would say you chase Eli Lilly. That's the one that's working out. That's the one that's getting a lot of chatter. But NVO is a value trap. I would not recommend that you buy it as a long hold in your portfolio. Greetings from Silicon Valley. You're in the evil empire right there. Okay, I think SLV just gave itself a reset opportunity to run back up. Could be, but look, if you want to play the metals right now, think about it this way. Silver ran a little bit too high in a short amount of time. You will find profit takers coming in. On the other hand, if you look at gold or GDX, didn't rally much. So I think that we have a catch-up trade here. If you're bullish in the metals still and you think we have more upside toward year end, I'd rather you go with the gold miners or gold and not chase silver. Stone just added IWM. 255, 260 call spreads as a hedge against some bearish bets for AMD and the SPY. So if we do here 255, 260, I think it's a little bit outside of the money and a little bit too premature because we have to digest what's going to happen with the tape here. So I would say take it off and let's revisit this conversation again before the close because there might be another better hedging strategy against your shorts than the IWM calls right now. And for all you know, we could see a fade at the end of the day as investors begin to digest the CPI that it was not a complete report and try to reverse some of these gains. So I would say take the bet off and let's wait till we get closer to the end of the day. You're thinking about doubling the IBIT 45 puts. Do we agree? Yeah, it could be. I mean, if Bitcoin begins to trade down again, then, I mean, at some point, they're just going to give up because they tried over and over and over again. And they're not making above 90. So I would say if we trade below 87,000, I'm going to double down on the IBIT 45 puts. Okay, here we have Microsoft fake out today, bouncing off the 200. So let's look at Microsoft here. Is it a fake out? A lot of the reactions are fake out, but yeah, bouncing off the 200, that's pretty good. And a little bit of a wedgish pattern. So can we see a little bit of a rebound in Microsoft to 500? I think that's a reasonable assumption. I mean, there's a little bit of a gap right here. So Microsoft looks okay if you want to chase. That's up to you. I'm not going to advise that you should chase. But if you're feeling like you're going to miss out something here, Microsoft looks a lot better than any of the other assets that I looked at. But don't forget about Apple. I mean, Apple been the outperformer, and it touched the 50. So if Apple flips to positive and closes positive for the day, that's going to be a solid signal for strength in Apple. But I would say that, yeah, Microsoft could be retesting 490, 500. That could be a possibility. It certainly looks like it right now. Hey, Mav, metals are seeing some friction this week. Do you see this alleviating into near year, next year? Outside of the AI bubble deflating in double time, I mean. Okay, so you're seeing some friction in metals is what you say. Let's take a look here. So when we look at metals today, palladium is up. Most of them are doing fine, even with a little bit of a rebound in the dollar. If we look at half year performance, you can see here, if we zoom in a little bit more so you can see it better. Silver up 70%, platinum 45, 6. So there is a uniform reaction. That most of them are moving higher. Maybe copper is a little bit on the cyclical side, so it is underperforming a little bit, but pretty much all metals are trading the same way. And again, question is, where do you see the dollar trading into next year, excuse me. And what I see is more devaluation in the dollar, and we're probably going to head down to the COVID lows. If that is the case, you can see even more rallies in gold, silver, and it could be copper too, but copper has the cyclical side that it needs China to be okay. It needs the cyclical economy to be holding, and we don't have a recession. So gold, silver, palladium, platinum, those are the top four, really. Then comes copper, steel, because those two have a little bit of a cyclical element. But I think that metals are still okay till next year. They're a core holding in my portfolio. I'm going to continue to hold them. What about weed for next year? Tilray. I think you missed Tilray. If you want to play Tilray, I think you missed it. You'll be chasing right now. Yeah, I would not chase it. I think that we have a little bit of resistance right here. And again, it's a Canadian company. It's not going to be really impacted by U.S. policy. There are better plays that are not in the public market, really. When you have a tapping on the shoulder here, so I would not chase Tilray. Hey, man, Palantir trade where we sell the 200 calls and buy the 210. Robinhood requires collateral for the max loss. Is it worth it? Is the collateral better used for other trades? Really good question. Let's take a look here. So PLTR, you want to sell the 200 and then buy the 210. Because of the volatility in this name, that's why your broker is now asking for collateral. So let's give it a minute here, see. Kind of stalled here, folks. Okay, that's a convenient time to be down. Option strat is down. Hopefully the stream is not down. Let me know if the stream is okay. And this is just an option strat problem. Yeah, this is not working. Okay, but I'm seeing my charts are looking okay. So I think the stream is still going. Okay, in any case, if we look at Palantir again, the reason why they're asking for a collateral is because the volatility in the name. Now, if you're collecting, let's say, closer to $5 in premium from selling the 200 and buying the 210, even 4, anything above 4, then yes, it's okay, and it's worth it to have that collateral. If you're collecting $1.50 from that credit spread or $2, then it's not worth it. You're just taking a little bit more risk than you really need for a reward. I think that it's better not to do the trade in that case. Okay, so it's an issue for option strategy. We'll see if they come back online or not. Good morning, Mav. Hope you're feeling well. Should we buy DJT now that Trump Media is going to be launching the commercial viable whatever? I don't think so. I think it's probably going to fade a little bit more. If anything, you probably want to trade some intraday puts on it. In, out, hello, goodbye. You probably don't want to chase that. So, no, I'm not interested in chasing the move here. Looking to make a long position in Conagra. Is it a good move? I think you need to see a little bit more. I think you need to see more before you make a move here, because we've been trying over and over and over again to get a movement out of this name and it never really happened. So we need to capture in the weekly chart here. Let's look at the weekly. We need to break above this falling wedge pattern. I would say trading at 19 and above. Then it would be a good buy. In the meantime, I mean, you have some staples that are looking a lot better. So Hershey's looking a lot better. Mondelez, we haven't looked at that for a long time, but Mondelez, no, not looking pretty good. Maybe a double bottom right here, but it's not looking pretty good. Other staples that could be a candidate. I mean, GIS was doing pretty good yesterday, so we're going to look at GIS in a minute. Procter & Gamble I'm going to avoid, so let's look here at GIS. See, GIS is seeing a little bit of better movement than Conagra, but I would still need to see a close above 50 before I say that it's a buy. So you can afford to wait. You can afford to wait all the way to next year before you begin buying some staples. You need to have a little bit more confirmation before you do that. Otherwise, it's a trap. You buy them and the money's locked and they keep consolidating or heading down. I say it pays a little bit to wait and be patient. Lenny, you sold some covered puts in Okeolo and Bloom. Looks like they're going to get assigned, which I don't mind. At what point do you enter the position again? So when you short Okeolo and when you sell puts, right, their obligation is for you to close your short. And that's okay. If taxation is not a problem for you, you close the position, reopen it again. I think that OKLO has further downside to go. Bloom Energy, same thing. So if you get assigned, no biggie. You just got to close your short. And if taxation is not a problem, that's okay. You just add it right back in. And I think that Bloom Energy is going to be the same thing. All of these energy providers are probably going to head down. Furthermore, you have, I would say, another 50%. of trimming down, at least in Bloom Energy, maybe a little bit 30-35% in OKLO. So I'd re-enter right away. BTC now holding pretty good. And NVIDIA, let's see that 175. You just did Apple. Okay, Apple looks the better of all of the big caps. So if you want to go long Apple, that's fine. SPY reclaiming 680. Like I said, I think that's 680. Let's see if they're back. Yeah, they're not. Okay, so that could be cloud flare issue, by the way. Could be an issue with net right here. But anyhow, I think the market makers can fight really, really hard to prevent the tape from going above 680. So if we look at the SPY, the only thing that could push the tape above 680 is if we see huge volume of calls being bought above that strike. So right now, not seeing it so much in today's session. Okay, let's go to the 19th, tomorrow's session. Not seeing a lot of volume showing up. So 2 cents. Nope. I think that market maker is going to flush us down. Just watch here. In a few minutes, they're probably going to try to push the tape down. The stream is good. That's okay. Option strat, yeah. Could be also a cloud flare issue. SPY making a bull flag on the 5 minutes. Looks like market maker may be pushed into buying higher. You're talking about a bull flag in the 5? I don't see it. Maybe you're looking at this right here, right? And you're assuming that this is a bull flag and higher we go. It's insignificant. In the 5 minutes chart, it's kind of insignificant. So I would not rely too much on the pattern right here. Okay, what is J&K saying to you? J&K is saying that we don't have a systemic risk problem yet in this market. And if we adjust this here right here, you'll see that when you look at HYG and J&K, you want to look at the non-adjusted. And in this case, it looks to me that it's probably going to head and probably break this wedge-ish consolidation pattern to the downside, but that will be in 26. So right now, there's no problem in the systemic event. That's what the J&K is saying. If it begins to flush down like we've seen here, then we got a problem. So that's all what the J&K is saying right now. Jeff Morning Maverick grabbed the December 23 IWM 45 puts. What do you think? 45, so I think you're talking about 245, right? 245, okay. It's okay for now, because for all you know, the CPI reaction could be a phony reaction, and we head back to trade to the downside by the end of the day. But here's what I would say. If we close above 250 today, you want to close the trade. If we close below 250 today, you want to keep the trade. So 250 is the line in the sand right here. A close above, meaning that you're probably on the wrong track. And you want to cut the trade before it becomes a loser. If we lose 250, it appears that we're going to close below 250, then keep the trade. It's probably a solid one, and IWM is probably going to head down and close the gap. How far, Jeff, the other Jeff, how far would you go on your shorts for data center infrastructure from last night's video? I think I have pretty good exposure to them. I don't think I'm going to add anything more. Maybe I'll add GE, Veranova, or some of these names that we talked about yesterday. But I think they have plenty of exposure right now. We have how many names now? We have OKLO, we have Lumentum, we have Bloom Energy. We have a lot of names that we shorted recently in that sphere. So if anything, we're just going to double down in those positions once we see supports being broken. But I don't think that's going to happen until we enter 2026. My next play is probably going to be a short in NVIDIA. And then after that, we're going to begin to move down to Broadcom and the memory chips. And after that, we move down to the big caps. But that's going to be a process for shorting that's going to take a little bit of time. So for now, keeping it as it is. One layer is showing a lot of weakness. Then the next one. Then the next one. Then the next one. And the last one is going to be the hyperscaler. Okay, now, how far is the shorts? You're asking how many weeks. You're talking about put options. See, with put options, you need to be even more precise. So if you're going to buy put options on these names, I would say you're better off waiting till we get closer to the end of the year, beginning of next year. then you initiate the put options to avoid the decay that could happen between now and year end. Now, if you short like I do, I'm borrowing the shares short. That's fine because you don't have any time constraints, or we're up in the trades. We'll keep them as it is. We're maybe going to add in January. But if you want to trade puts, I would say hold your horses. Don't face the decay between now and year end. Firecat, good morning. Thank you so much for commenting on Patreon. So I hope that answered the question, Jeff. Look at the SPY now. Market makers fighting back, saying, you guys are not showing me volume above 680, so I'm going to just do maximum pain and try to push the tape to a territory where I feel safe. But I think that's going to be around 677. And watch NVIDIA, 175. That's an important number. If we close below, forget about it. And then, of course, Bitcoin. But Bitcoin caught a little bit of an algorithmic pump here, but if there's no follow-up, or better yet, if the sellers begin to show up again, I would say, folks, the likelihood is the tape is probably going to reverse. But right now, we're still young. There's plenty of time, and we'll just have to watch and see what's going to happen. I'm not going to make any decisions today. Okay, AMR. Insiders buying at the 200 WMA. What is your view? So we talked about this, right? We talked about this in the charts to watch. Or excuse me, I'm thinking about AMT. You're talking about AMR. Let's see what they say here. Okay, the director bought 9,000 shares. Okay, that's pretty good. I think we talked about it right here. Bull flag, higher we go in the weekly, maybe. Yep, bull flag, higher we go, but now what? You're facing a little bit of resistance here, but if you close the week above the 200 weeks moving average, yes, that's a bullish reversal. So I want you to watch the 200 weeks here. If we close above, you may enter, as they say, if you haven't entered already, because you have your cup and handle and a breakout, and usually that's going to lead to, you take the bottom of the cup all the way to the handle, top of the handle right here. And then you calculate the breakout, and you still got plenty of room because you can go all the way to 230. So I would say you buy if we close above the 200 weeks moving average by tomorrow's session. Alrighty, folks. If you don't have any more questions or comments, we're just going to leave it here. You guys know what to look forward to. 680 is probably ceiling. Let's see if we go down to 677 in the SPY, and then watch 175 on NVIDIA, and we continue to watch Bitcoin. And I think we're going to have a better picture on how the market is going to hold the reaction from the CPI at around, let's say, 2 hours before the close. I think we'll have a better picture of what we have to do. Other than that, I really don't want to jump the gun here because I have a feeling that things are going to reverse a little bit. I have one increment. Okay, yeah, you could add. AMR, you could add once you close above the 200. I want you to add. Mav, I have the IBIT 48 puts for Jan 2nd. That's good. I'd keep that trade as it is. The 45 is for Jan 16. So 48 for Jan 2nd is appropriate. 45 for Jan 16 is also appropriate. But if you do 45 for Jan 2nd, no, that's a little bit out of the money. Option strat is back. There we go. So let's look at that Palantir that you talked about. And if we do Jan 16, you sell the 200. And then you buy the 210 as your protection. You're getting 250 for a risk of $10. And then on top of that, you have to pay, you have to have margin, right? So, no. I would not, the risk versus reward is just not worth it. Now, if we had 205, maybe. But even with the 205, you're not getting a lot of credit here. So, no, I'd leave it as it is. So 200, 210, yeah, 200 here. And then if we do 205, let's say for the 23rd, still not enough credit. So not a good idea. Not a good idea. But anyhow, folks, let's just wrap it up right here. Thank you for joining me in this session right now, and I hope that you found some value out of it. And you know what to look forward to until we meet again, which is going to be about an hour in the chat session in Discord. Let's see how this tape is going to develop in between now and then. But thank you for joining me, folks. Appreciate and love all of you. Good luck with the rest of the day, and take care.